So just remind us, James, where we are with Mo Salah's contract. How long's left on it at the moment? Has there been an offer? Who's who has the ball in their court?
Yeah, well, where we're at the minute is that Mo Salah's contract, which he actually signed back in 2018, runs until the summer of 2023. So, we're not far off. The prospect of one of the best players in world football reaching the last year of his deal, and obviously that's why I think over the course of this season it's been bubbling away in the background. But I think now you start to think, well, actually, this is now getting quite serious. So I think there's a little bit of a PR game going on at the minute. I think in terms of depending who you listen to, in terms of where the ball is, I think different parties knocking it back into the other one's court. I think Mo Salah, whenever he's been asked about it, he's always said, "I want to stay. I love it here." It's down to the hierarchy at Liverpool to sort it out, and and very much saying it's down to them. Then you had Jurgen Klopp last Friday at Kirby saying that it's Mo's decision. The club's done what it can do. And now, he said there's been no rejection, no agreement. We're just waiting to see what happens. So, obviously Salah's agent then responded to Klopp's comments with 7 crying, laughing emojis in a kind of a thinly veiled, I think it's fair to say, dig, suggesting that that clearly he doesn't see it in quite the same way.
What does Salah want? Or maybe I should say, what does Salah's agent want?
Well, in terms of absolute specific numbers, all parties have remained pretty tight-lipped on this up to this point. That hasn't changed. I think what we do know is that what Salah's agent is determined to do is, in his eyes, is to get him a contract that he views as representative of Salah's status in world football. I don't think anyone would argue with the fact that Mo Salah has delivered at such a ridiculously high level for so long that he has been one of the greatest players on the planet this season. Yet, when you look at the numbers, I think he is in the kind of the top bracket at Liverpool, but it's around that £200,000 a week mark. And, of course, I'm sure Rami Abbas's advisor is looking around and thinking, well, hang on a minute. You've got Jack Grealish going to Man City on 300 grand a week. You've got De Bruyne obviously earns more than that. You've got people like David De Gea and Pogba at United on considerably more. So he's obviously trying to get the absolute best possible deal for his client. And we're at a stage at the minute where, clearly there's still a fairly big gap between what the club are willing to offer and what he wants.
But what I don't get is where does the Salah camp think he's going to get the ridiculous money? Because it's not going to be at Manchester United or Manchester City, so you can rule them out, which basically leaves you with one of 3 clubs, doesn't it? One of whom I question now, the majority of how they're managing to sign players in Barcelona, and then the other 2 are Paris Saint-Germain and Real Madrid.
Yeah, and I think that's an important element in all this. That I don't think it's a situation where Salah's hand is strengthened by having an array of options and suitors ready to give him what he wants, that he feels Liverpool aren't coughing up at the minute. I think, when you look around in terms of, if this standoff continues into the summer, then clearly Liverpool are going to have a very big decision to make, which is essentially, if you can't fix this, then what do you do? Do you cash in? Or do you almost accept he's going to go for nothing in 2023? I think certainly in terms of someone being able to buy him, I think in terms of overseas clubs, you're only looking at PSG. I think that would be the only one that would even spring out, really, when you think, well, if Mbappe as expected goes to Real Madrid, would PSG look to bring Salah in? But then it's like, we know that PSG would obviously be able to give him exactly what he wants financially, but can they give him the other things that he has at Liverpool? I don't think you'd say that PSG would be a step up when you look at where Liverpool are competing at the minute, and he's playing for one of the best managers in the world. He's absolutely adored by the supporters. And of course, there's a midfielder in Paris at the minute who thought the grass might be greener there when he turned down Liverpool's contract offer, Jorginho Wijnaldum, a year ago, and was stuck warming the bench as they got knocked out of the Champions League last week.
It strikes me that Liverpool have all the cards here, to be
Yeah,
honest,
I mean,
and also
and I
their
think
philosophy. Sorry, James, their philosophy that nobody is bigger than the club, and that works for them.
yeah, and I think the other, because I see lots of supporters on social media say to me, it's a joke. What are the owners doing? Just give him whatever he wants. And I think, well, on the one hand, I can understand that Salah is operating in such an elite bracket. The prospect of losing him is very unpalatable for Liverpool fans. There's no doubt about that, and Liverpool would be weaker as a result. But I think you have to balance that against the fact that no one is bigger than the club, and the fact that they have this wage structure that they pride themselves on, where they're not going to just rip that up and start again. It served them incredibly well up to this point. So it's, and then you look at someone like Luis Diaz with the impact he's had when he's come in since the end of January, and Klopp said himself, they have to keep evolving, they have to keep building for the future, and you certainly wouldn't look at this Liverpool team and describe it as a one-man team.
No, and that's my final point, really. I mean, let's say they were to give Salah, I'll pluck a figure out there. Let's say they were to give him 350 grand a week, 400 grand a week. Virgil van Dijk could then equally go to them, well, hang on a minute. I changed this club fortunes around when I joined. I want 400 grand a week. Alisson could probably go, well, hang on a minute. I changed this club around by bringing stability in goal. I want 400 grand a week. You could even argue that Alexander-Arnold might want 400. I mean, or if not 400 grand a week, at least an upgrade on what they've got to reflect their importance as well. If all of a sudden the most important player has gone from 200 to 400.
Yeah. And I think that's why there is no easy solution to this, because you're right, because you can say, well, look at Salah's numbers, he's almost in a class of his own, but it's like, well, hang on a minute, Virgil van Dijk is the best centre half in world football. That's where he's operating at the minute. You'd say Alisson belongs in the conversation in terms of the best goalkeeper. Is there a better fullback around than Alexander-Arnold? So yeah, you give Salah what he wants, and there'll probably be a queue outside, well, Julian Ward's office shortly, wanting discussions about their client situations. So I mean, I still think at the minute, between now and the end of the season, that there's still a decent window there that I hope. I just think when you take a step back and you look at it, Salah has been unbelievable for Liverpool, but Liverpool has been unbelievable for Salah as well. And it's they've been great for each other. Certainly the relationship with Klopp, Klopp's taken him to the next level. Does he really want to walk away from that? I struggle to believe that. And that's why I still cling to the hope that a compromise can be reached, because I don't think either Liverpool or Salah really benefit if there is a parting of the ways, whether that comes this summer or in the summer of 2023.